Hi, I'm Ben Murdoch, the Songwriter Coach, and welcome to the last day of my 14-day lyric writing challenge, which has been keeping us songwriters creating and writing during isolation for the last 2 weeks. Okay, so we've got through a lot over the course of the last 14 days in this challenge, and I want to thank each and every one of you for watching and joining in. Today is the last day, the end of the challenge, so what shall we do? Well, as it's the end, I thought we'd start at that point and go from there. We're going to start with the end and try writing a song. So this is called the don't sweat it technique, which I introduced in this video. It's worth giving it a watch for a full lowdown of what it's all about. But I'll summarise the technique before we get into what the exercise for today is going to be. So don't sweat it, or start with the end and try. Sweat. If you've been sweating over what to write and how to put it all together, how to start your song, then stop and instead start with the end and try again. This is where sweat comes from, or don't sweat it. You do this by asking 3 questions: what, why, and how. So first, let's look at what. You need to know what you're writing about. So get a piece of paper or open a note on your phone or your laptop and off we go. The what might be an event like the day you fell in love, for example. Write it down, whatever it is. And whatever it is, it needs to have the legs to make it a song, which brings us to our second question. Why? Why are you writing the song? Write down what comes to mind on your note. If it's a weak answer, you may need to reconsider the subject. But for now, we're going to crack on to question 3. How? How are you going to tell the story? This is working out the bits of the story that need to be told. If you want to be really brutal here, you could categorize everything that you think of. So you could think of it as nice to know or need to know, and then only use the need. So it's really brutal because these need bits are going to be the most pertinent and strongest bits of your lyrics. At this how stage, you're writing down what you want to include, and you need to know why it's important that those elements are there. So the how stage is broken down into lots of whats and whys, but these are on the micro level. So you have the macro level, or the big picture what and why, and your how is made up of micro level whats and whys, little pieces of information that build and make that story. So in this video, I used Adele's song Someone Like You to demonstrate. So what's the song about? So Adele's big picture what is lost love. It's about someone she was once with but no longer is. So why is she telling us the story? Well, her big picture why is that she's not over this person. She still loves him. It's a great why, as it has this tension built into it. So this tells us it has the legs to make a great song. And of course it did. Lastly, how does she tell this story? Well, if you read through the lyrics, she begins by letting us know this is lost love in verse 1. Then she tells us her ex is married now and happy before she hits us with this shocking scene of her turning up out of the blue at his house. So that's what happened. She turned up at his house uninvited. Why is that important? Because she wanted him to see her face and know that for her, it's not over. Wow, I mean, that's real tension and it's great storytelling. Listeners by now are totally hooked into this plot. So the song has more great moments in it. Take a look or a listen to see what you can spot. Okay, so what we've just been looking at here without really saying it is story and plot. The macro level what is your story. So think to yourself, what's the story? And that's your macro level what, which you must ask the why question of to ensure it's a story that's worth telling. And then you dive into plotting everything out. The plot is how you tell the story. And as I said before, the how is a series of micro level whats and whys. Asking why is really important every time. Really important because you're basically asking a critical question of does it need to be in the story? Why is it important? So now let's look at structure for a moment. If you were writing a book, it would be chunked into chapters. The whole story having a beginning, middle, and an end. Now there are many more in-depth ways to look at story structure and how to arrange the ingredients of your story, but we're going to stick with the simplest version of all right now, which is beginning, middle, and end. So a song is chunked into verses and choruses with a bridge or middle 8 sometimes included. So let's quickly look at the function of each before diving into today's challenge. Firstly, the verse. So the job of the verse is to be the driver of the plot. The first verse will usually introduce the story and the characters, just as a first chapter of a book does. If you think of the micro level details you want to include in your song, most of these are going to be verse content. Now the second verse needs to move the story and characters on, or the plot forward, and not go over old ground of verse 1. So it's a bit like being a third of the way through a book that you're reading, a good few chapters in. And of course, the rest of the verses are moving the plot further towards its conclusion. Okay, so what about the chorus? Well, the chorus must relate to the plot and to the verse which has just brought the listener into it, but not be the same. There should and must really be contrast. A chorus is used to develop the idea of the verse, telling the listener why that verse was important. The chorus often uses more internal dimensional writing than external, as we've talked about before. It can even be used to get to a conclusion or a result, like a spoiler before the end. If you look at Adele's Someone Like You, you'll see that she's used the chorus to leap the story ahead, in a way, to a conclusion that she'll find someone. Okay, so it might be someone like her ex, but she is projecting forward. And of course, the chorus is very often the place to include the title of the song, as choruses tend to repeat their information, and therefore the title gets a more prominent position if placed here. So with Adele, never mind, I'll find someone like you. There it is, the title, beautifully set up by a nice airy internal rhyme of never mind, I'll find. Now a bridge is often used in a song to give it a break, like a palate cleanser before moving back into the richness of the next chorus, and not all songs have one, of course. Okay, so that was a whistle-stop tour of song structure. Now let's look at today's exercise. Today we're going to try out the don't sweat it technique. So with your piece of paper or phone in front of you, write down your macro level what. So this is what the story is. So Adele's was Lost Love. Then write down your macro level why. Why do I want to tell this story? Why is it so important? Why will people want to listen to it? So with Adele, remember, it was because I'm not over him and I want him to know. That was her why. So now you have your story idea, begin plotting. Write down what happens, all the little events, making sure that you ask why of each one. Why is it important? Why will people want to listen to it? Why is it in the story? Once you've written down all you can think of, then go on to structuring. What's the introduction? That's your first verse. What naturally follows the first verse? This might be for verse 2 or your chorus. Keep going until you have a plot structure laid out where each verse drives the plot further on and is different from the last. This process will give you the full plan of your song, just like an author might map out the plan and structure of a novel that they're writing. Now you can use the techniques you've learned and used throughout this 14-day challenge to write this song. Remember to ensure that your chorus contrasts to the verse when you write it. Good luck, and I hope this gives you a really strong song based on the what and why you wrote down originally. Wow, okay, so we're at the end of this 14-day challenge now. So I just wanted to thank you all for joining in and being a part of this. If you've enjoyed it and got some value from this 14-day challenge, then please hit like, share, and of course, I'd really love it if you'd subscribe so I can keep bringing you new videos every week. Also, don't forget to hit the bell after you subscribe to get notifications so you know when I release a new video. Until next time, and for the last time, I just want to say, stay in, stay safe, and keep writing great songs. I'll see you all back here soon for more.